Hurricane Delta has slammed into the Yucatan Peninsula and is now back out over the Gulf of Mexico. I'm Mike Naso with the latest update on our Hurricane Delta. Thankfully, Delta weakened rapidly last night from a Category 4 all the way down to a high-end Category 2 before making landfall north of Cozumel. It was still a powerful hurricane, though, and packed quite a wallop. You can see it's moved across the Yucatan and it's now emerging in the Gulf of Mexico. It has most of its structure still intact, and it is forecast to re-intensify into a major hurricane and then take aim at the North Gulf coast. Let's get the latest now on our Hurricane Delta. As of 10 a.m. Central, that's 11 a.m. Eastern, on the eastern seaboard of the U.S., Hurricane Delta was at 21.4 north, 88.0 west. Winds still 105 miles per hour. It's a Category 2 hurricane, and it is looking like it's going to strengthen back to at least a Category 3. It's moving northwest at 17. So it's not moving slowly, so that shouldn't exacerbate the conditions in Mexico. However, obviously, we still have a hurricane warning for the north coast of the Yucatan, including the island of Cozumel. But we now have a hurricane watch from High Island, Texas, to Grand Isle, Louisiana, and a tropical storm watch from San Luis Pass, Texas, to High Island, and then from east of Grand Isle all the way to Bay St. Louis, including Lake Maurepas, Lake Pontchartrain, and the city of New Orleans. I know that sounds familiar this year. You guys have had quite a bit of tropical activity, whether it was Tropical Storm Cristobal, Hurricane Hannah passing to your south, Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Sally passing to your right, Tropical Storm Beta. You guys have just had a lot of hurricane activity around that area, and you will have to deal with Delta. Again, still a very powerful hurricane. It should continue to move by this ridging to the north of it, pushing it towards the west, northwest, and then eventually the north. And by Thursday and Friday, it should feel the tug of a developing trough over Texas, and that should pull it north and northeast. Again, we don't know exactly where landfall will occur. However, it will be a very powerful hurricane. Now, the difference between a Category 4 and a Category 2, what we were dealing with yesterday, it had been up to 145 miles per hour. By landfall in the Yucatan, it was somewhere around here. So that was a huge jump down in intensity. So if you're in the Yucatan, as bad as it was, it could have been much, much worse just hours earlier. So be thankful that the hurricane weakened. Don't be angry if you prepared or evacuated and didn't get an impact. You should be thankful that you didn't. There's the visible satellite imagery as the sun comes up on Hurricane Delta, starting to leave the coastline right there. Again, it's going to have to deal with a little bit of dry air intrusion from the landmass. Not too much. It's still got a moist envelope with it. However, it will move into the Gulf and be over some deep hot waters here, and that should allow it to intensify, even though the waters get cooler as it gets near the coast. The computer guidance has shifted more west again, so if you're in Upper Texas, High Island, even Houston, you guys need to keep an eye on it. But it does look like once the models tighten up even more, we'll be able to zero in on a landfall somewhere from the border of Texas and Louisiana to the area of about Houma and Grand Isle. So somewhere along the mid-Louisiana coastline looks most likely right now to get slammed by this hurricane. Now, the intensity guidance has come down a little. This is the H-WRF model, which brings it in around 60 hours, so that would be sometime on Friday. 948 millibars, 105, 110 miles an hour, a very powerful Category 2, slamming right there into the coastline, just to the west of areas of Lafayette and Morgan City and Intercoastal City, and that would be near Pecan Island, somewhere in that region. And again, slamming into the coast as a powerful hurricane. We also have the HMON hurricane model, again, Category 2, sometime around 60 hours, pretty much the same location. So if you're in that region of areas like Cameron and Lake Charles that were ravaged by Hurricane Laura, we don't think this will be as strong as Laura, but again, you guys don't need any impact from any type of tropical cyclone, let alone a strong hurricane. Now, the big threat with Delta won't just be the winds. Because it's increasing in size, we're going to deal with storm surge. You've seen this graphic way too much this year. We are expecting water rises near Vermilion Bay, Pecan Island, 7 to 11 feet of water with very high, dangerous waves on top of that. Again, if it makes landfall there, you'll be on the right side, and the right side is where storm surge is the worst. You know, during Hurricane Laura, it made landfall near Cameron. There were a lot of people in the media saying, you see, they said 15 to 20 foot surge. It didn't happen. Well, guess what? It did happen. It did happen to the right of Cameron in these little beachfront townships that are very low populated. We saw a surge of 17 feet. So the only thing that didn't happen was a great big urban city disaster that some in the media probably would have been fascinated by. So don't be fooled thinking that these storm surges are overestimates by the Hurricane Center. These guys do a great job. And if you're in these locations, you need to be ready for that type of event. Again, over here in this area, Buras, Grand Isle, 4 to 6 feet with waves on top, Lake Borgne, and even Pontchartrain, 3 to 5 feet. But again, even to the Panhandle, Mobile Bay, Gulf Shores, you guys got ravaged by Sally a few weeks ago, 2 to 4 feet. You don't need it. You don't need it at all. The rainfall will also be a threat. It should be moving fairly quickly, so it won't be a prolonged, slow drag in like Sally, but still some totals 6, 10, 15 inches, depending on the landfall, and of course severe weather along with that. The coastline of Louisiana, where are we expecting landfall, is far too early. We just got the hurricane watches out. But again, if I were in an area here around Pecan Island, Marsh Island and Vermilion Bay, New Iberia, Lafayette, Louisiana, Crowley, Louisiana, Abbeville, Lake Arthur. You guys need to be really overlooking your hurricane plans because remember, as we saw with past storms like Laura, this is a very low-lying, marshy area which is very susceptible to high storm surge. Again, the area that was impacted by Hurricane Laura that, you know, so many people said, oh, it wasn't that bad. It was these areas here. A wildlife refuge, another conservation area, another wildlife refuge, and so even though they got 17 feet of storm surge, it didn't seem like it. Trust me, it was a bad hit down there, to say nothing of the wind damage for areas further north. So again, we could hope that it hits a less populated area, but there are still towns and locations along the coast that would have to deal with it. And again, even areas like Lafayette and New Iberia, pretty good population centers not that far inland. So we're going to have to deal with this hurricane. We'll continue to watch it as time goes by. You can see the troughs going to develop there along the area of Texas and draw our system to the northwest, then the north, and then the northeast, right towards the Louisiana coastline. It's looking a little bit ragged there on the satellite, but it was just over land. It should expand and intensify over the Gulf of Mexico. I'm Mike Naso with the latest on dangerous Hurricane Delta, and I will talk to you guys next time.